What if I told you there's a hidden schedule for the future? It's a pretty wild idea we're diving into today. The theory goes that ancient Jewish festivals aren't just about remembering the past. Nope. They're actually a detailed prophetic roadmap for how the world ends.
So, here's how we're going to break it down. We're just going to follow the timeline of these festivals step by step to see how this whole prophetic story is supposed to unfold.
So really, it all boils down to this one big question. Can these ancient festivals actually predict the future? The argument we're looking at says yes, that they're not just traditions, but more like a divine calendar, one that's already marked out huge turning points in history and has more to come.
Okay, let's get into the main idea here. The core premise is that this yearly cycle of feasts isn't random. It's presented as this divinely coded sequence, so you got to think of it less like a series of holidays and more like a cosmic timeline.
And this timeline is basically split into two parts. You've got the spring feast, Pentecost, which is seen as a prophecy that has already happened. And this is absolutely key, right? Because if that one's fulfilled, it sets a pattern. It sets the stage for the autumn feasts, which, according to this view, point directly to things that haven't happened yet.
All right, so we're going to start with Pentecost. Why? Because in this framework, it's kind of like the historical proof of concept. It's the one event that's supposed to show the pattern is real, the key that unlocks the rest of the timeline.
Okay, so Pentecost, way back when, was literally a harvest festival, celebrating the first fruits of the wheat. The source we're looking at draws a direct line from that to the coming of the Holy Spirit, which you can read about in the book of Acts. The idea is, just like those first grains were harvested, this event marked the start of a spiritual harvest, the first fruits of believers. So, because this one was fulfilled, it really strengthens the argument that the other feasts are going to have a direct, literal fulfillment too.
Okay, so now we're shifting gears. We're moving from the past to the future. The next big stop on this prophetic calendar is the Feast of Trumpets. And this one, well, it's tied to a moment of sudden, massive, world-altering change.
Yeah, this festival isn't just one single thing. It's more like the trigger, the first domino in a whole chain of events. The sound of that final trumpet is supposed to kick off the second coming, the resurrection of a specific group of martyrs, and the start of the final judgment on earth. And it all leads up to the fall of Great Babylon, which is symbolic language for a corrupt world system. You could say this is the starting gun for the whole end-time sequence.
All right, pay close attention here because this next piece is really the theological heart of this whole thing. It's a concept called the Great Atonement and is presented as the solution to a huge cosmic legal problem.
Now, when you and I hear the word atonement, we probably think about, being forgiven for our personal sins. But the source makes a really, really important distinction. The Great Atonement isn't that. It's way bigger. It's a one-time event in the future that doesn't just forgive sin, it completely wipes out the possibility of sinning for those who are considered righteous.
This really lays out the difference, doesn't it? Here's a good way to think about it. It's like a pardon versus a permanent cure. The individual atonement we have now, that's the pardon. You're forgiven, but the potential to get sick again, to sin again, is still there. The Great Atonement, on the other hand, that's the cure. A final cosmic reset that makes it impossible to ever sin again. Game over for sin.
So, you might be asking, why is this cosmic reset even necessary? Well, according to this interpretation, it all comes down to settling a huge, universal legal battle. And this quote right here, this is supposedly Satan's main accusation against God. The argument is that God's laws are unfair, that they're fundamentally unjust, because hey, created beings just can't follow them perfectly.
And here, this is the prosecution's big counterargument. The sacrifice of these martyrs is basically presented as Exhibit A in this cosmic court case. By choosing to follow God's law, even when it meant death, they become the ultimate proof that the law can be followed. This is what vindicates God's character and proves Satan's big accusation was a lie all along.
Now, to really get the prophetic meaning here, you have to understand the original ritual, the ancient blueprint. On the Day of Atonement, the high priest would go in and purify the sanctuary. Then, a scapegoat was chosen. The priest would symbolically lay all the sins of the entire nation onto this goat, and then it would be sent off into the wilderness, literally carrying the sins away.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting. The source maps that ancient ritual directly onto huge, cosmic events. So Jesus' sacrifice, that's step one, the purification. Satan, he is identified as the ultimate scapegoat, the one who started sin in the first place. The proof from the martyrs is what makes it legally possible to place all the blame for sin on him. And the final step, He gets cast into a symbolic wilderness, the bottomless pit, which removes the source of sin from the universe for good.
So, the cosmic court case is closed. The verdict is in. Satan is imprisoned. The stage is finally set for the very last of the autumn feasts to be fulfilled. And that's the Feast of Tabernacles, which is supposed to kick off a brand new era for the entire world.
And what does this final festival bring? Well, according to this roadmap, it's the start of a literal 1,000-year kingdom of peace right here on Earth. You've probably heard of it. It's called the Millennium.
This period is painted as a true golden age, 1,000 years of peace, ruled by Christ and those very same martyrs who were brought back to life. Their reign is seen as a reward for everything they went through. And the whole time, Satan is bound, so his influence is just gone. This 1,000-year period ends with one last judgment, and after that, sin and even death itself are supposedly wiped out, forever.
So when you zoom out and look at the whole picture, these feasts create a complete story, almost like a legal drama. It starts with a cosmic accusation, then moves to the evidence presented by the martyrs, then comes the verdict, where the accuser is banished, and it all ends with the complete restoration of the world. It's a full narrative with a beginning, middle, and end.
And that really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. Whether you buy into this specific interpretation or not, it challenges a really common modern idea. It asks us, what if history isn't just a random series of events? What if it's actually a story? A story that was written with a very specific and very dramatic ending.